Another wine fraud case. What's a winemaker? It seems pretty straightforward to me, and when is it okay to send back wine at a restaurant? Let's discuss. All that and more on this week's episode of This Week Uncorked. Hello and welcome to episode 54 of This Week Uncorked for Monday, July 28th, 2025. I'm Brett Martin from Cork & Journey. If you're not familiar with Cork & Journey, we are your number one source for Corkage Fees, as well as winery reviews, wine reviews, restaurant reviews, regional wine guides, and much, much more. Let's get right on with this week's wine news. Don't you love another good wine scam? Well, the Associated Press has an article about James Wesley. He's a 58-year-old Brit who's just been extradited to the United States, along with his co-defendant, Stephen Burton. They ran a Ponzi scheme, basically collateralizing loans against wine cellars, very expensive wine cellars. And, well, let me just read from the article. From 2017 to 2019, they solicited $99 million in investments from residents of New York and other areas, promising their clients that they would profit from interest on the loans. But the wealthy wine collectors did not exist. No loans were made, and Bordeaux Cellars did not have custody of the wine securing the loans. Prosecutors say, well, bottom line here is that, they didn't have the wine, spent the money on other stuff, and Bordeaux Cellars was, in fact, a complete scam. Yet another wine scam out there in the industry. All right, we're going to move on with the next story. This is from 750 Daily, and it's an article about two French champagne makers, Juliette Alipes and Rodolphe Péters, and what feels like a champagne's answer to the Antique Roadshow. They're going around scouring cellars, finding long-lost bottles of champagne. That sounds cool, but no, they're taking that champagne that's never been basically disgorged and putting their own labels on it. It's kind of part treasure hunt, part time capsule with a side of ethical eyebrow raising. So from the article, this type of production is possible thanks to a French wine law. If we look at the law, the winemaker is the person who disgorges the bottle, explains Juliette Alpes, winemaker of Domaine Les Bons Fruits. Even so, this practice is fairly hush-hush part of the industry. So, quickly, champagne, secondary fermentation, it sits in the bottle, right? All of the yeast goes to the bottom. It's called the lees, and it just sits there on the lees. That's where it gets its bready flavor from. So you've got the first fermentation, you've got the secondary fermentation, then sometimes it can age in the bottle for years and years and years. The disgorging part is basically they turn it upside down. They freeze, all the yeast settles down to the top of the bottle. They freeze that, and then they disgorge it. Boom! They pop out all the dead yeast comes out. Then they'll put, let's call it a little dosage in, has a little sugar in it, and there you go. Final wine ready to go. It turns out that if you just take an old bottle of wine like that, it hasn't been disgorged, you can say, yeah, I made this. I'm the winemaker. Seems kind of crazy to me, but anyway, it is what they are doing. And this, I think the article should have been called Shiners and Champagne. And if you aren't familiar, Shiners, they're everywhere. I put a link in the show notes, but if you go to like winebusiness.com and you click down to bulk wine, and then in bulk wine, you click on Shiners, what you're doing is you're basically buying a bottle of wine it's done. It's been fermented. It's been bottled, and it's just sitting there in bottles with no labels on it. And you can find crazy stuff. You can find stuff from Sonoma, stuff from Napa. You can find Bordeaux blends. You can find stuff that, I was looking at one that was aged 30 months in new French oak barrels, and they wanted to sell it for $150 a case. So you're paying a little more than $12 a bottle. You put your own label on it. Hey, if it's good, maybe you're selling it for $100 a bottle. Anyway, crazy stuff. Not sure I agree with it, but anyway, interesting article. Alrighty, and moving on with the news, wine business. Sarah Brown outlines how rising labor costs are squeezing the margins from the direct-to-consumer wine channel. We've talked about this a lot. One of the ways that most small wineries make their money is direct-to-consumer. That's wine clubs, people coming in their tasting rooms, all of those kind of things. Well, guess what? The cost of labor, the cost of everything is just kind of squeezing even those margins on them. But technology is here to save the day. From the article, Higher labor costs may be slimming margins on direct-to-consumer channel, but experts say wineries can leverage new technology to offset these costs while still providing consumers with a personalized experience. By using tools like personalized texting, intelligent chatbots, and other artificial intelligence tools, winery staff can spend less time on administrative tasks and spend more time on connecting with consumers. Well, I can tell you this is in fact true. I actually own another company which does nothing but work with businesses on helping them automate their entire sales marketing process, as well as their back-end ERP and inventory. And we actually work with a lot of winemakers as well. And, one of the things, there's so many things you can do with technology to make things more efficient, keeping track of every bottle they bought, making wine recommendations, automating those kind of things, having complete notes on the consumer when they come back in. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. And it's just one way to, make your winery more efficient and increase sales. You don't necessarily need to decrease headcount. Because you can really kind of just increase sales by having better tools and better things around that. So, you know what? Kudos. And with that, let's wrap up the news with our last story. All right, Wine Enthusiast has a great article on when it's okay to send back wine and when it's not. This is Kelly A. McGarrix from Wine Enthusiast is writing on the proper etiquette for sending back wine. Quickly from the article and then a few thoughts on this. The most clear-cut situation happens when a wine is unpalatable due to improper storage, poor winemaking, or an inherent fault. It's completely acceptable to send back a wine if it's flawed, says Chad Michael George, certified sommelier, founder of Proof Productions, a general manager at bars.com, meaning it has been baked, overheated, tainted with TCA, cork taint, or it's gone bad in some other way, like being exposed to oxidation. Look, these are the basic ones. They're easy. What I've been running into just a ton, especially as we've been traveling around Europe, is wine by the glass being served, red wines being served at, 75 degrees, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Mind blowing. This is all over Europe. It's like they don't do any temperature control on reds, whites for sure. And then if you get a bottle, they've been just improperly stored, which kind of goes back to the crux of this article. Or the worst thing for me when you're at a restaurant is maybe it is with the proper temperature, but you order a glass of wine by the glass and the bottle's been open for 2 days and the bottle hasn't been kept in any condition. They haven't removed the oxygen. They didn't coravent it. They didn't do anything. They didn't vacuum it. It's just, hey, we cracked the bottle and it's just been sitting there oxidizing for the last couple of days and you get the wine and, it's too opened up, shall we say. And sending those back is, I think something that's completely acceptable. You can always say, when did you open this bottle? This bottle tastes old. Or how is this wine stored? What's the temperature on it? Anyway, it's a whole thing. I think buying a whole bottle, you can't say I don't like it, but, you can tell if it's been improperly stored. It just tastes bad. What's going on? And most somms, most wine professionals will agree. And most restaurants, they even talk about this in the article. You order a beautiful bottle of wine and someone sends it back because they just don't like it, but they taste it and they go, this is great. You can just put it behind the bar and sell it by the glass for usually big bucks for people who maybe might appreciate that wine. So anyway, with that, let's head right on over to our wine and winery of the week. All right, we're going to talk about the Alma Rosa Winery. This is in the heart of Solvang. Their little tasting rooms in the heart of Solvang. Man, this is just a really cool little laid-back winery. We just loved going to this place. The lady who served us was fantastic. She says, everybody's happy who's tasting wine. She's got the greatest job in the world. Really, really, really interesting Pinots. That's really what they specialize in. Kind of went through all of their Pinots, tasted quite a few of them. I was just pleasantly surprised with what they are doing. So if you're down in Solvang, you're walking your way through the various tasting rooms, Alma Rosa is one you will want to check out for sure. And then we'll talk about their 2021 Alma Rosa Pinot Noir, El Jabali. Anyway, this is from the El Jabali Vineyard. We have it 93 points, $89 a bottle, so it's not on the cheap side. But really, really, really excellent Pinot Noir. And so you can kind of, very fruit forward, kind of freshness. It's got, anyway, aromatic. I liked it. We liked it a lot. So if you're into Pinot, you're down there, definitely check out that. 2021 was a great year down there as well. Great vintage. And this wine really, really shows it. And with that, let's wrap things up with our restaurant and corkage of the week. All right. We're going to go to Orla in Las Vegas. It's over at the Mandalay Bay. This is a Michael Mina, I want to say. Yes, Michael Mina restaurant. Mediterranean, decent, good. We liked it a lot. We gave it 5 stars. Is it expensive? Yes, it is. They have tasting menus. They do some wine pairings. Just kind of really good Mediterranean food. Nice flair, nice twist to some of this stuff. Michael Mina, I don't think he's had a bad concept restaurant that we've ever tried out. So if you're in Vegas, you happen to be at the Mandalay Bay, and you can get into Orla, I highly suggest you check it out. It is it's worth stopping into. And their Corkage Fee is $50 a bottle, on the high side, but really reasonable for Las Vegas. And even though they had a decent wine list, Vegas tends to mark their wines up 3-4x. So bringing in your own bottle, paying the $50, you'll be way, way, way ahead of the game. All right, well, that is going to wrap it up for another episode of This Week Uncorked. I want to thank everybody so much for joining us. As always, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on your favorite podcast app. Until next week, from London, next week will be from Paris. We should have some good stuff to talk about there. Cheers, everybody. See you then.